get started this morning. So, uh, good morning to everyone. Thank you for taking your valuable time to meet with us and learn today. And what we're excited to do is introduce our new biological lineup. And we have company management. We have Allison Jack, one of the PhDs on the Terrasym product. We've got Ron Delf from Dakota Bio, one of our manufacturer suppliers with us. So we've got some technical experts that are here to support us. The purpose of us meeting today is to kind of kick off the lineup of products that we're introducing that we've been working on for a while, going to friends and people we know in the business that are manufacturers, new friends that we're making, and companies that have a lot of research behind them. And what's nice is if you probably add up the PhDs behind these three companies or four companies that we're bringing in, there's dozens, I would say. Interestingly, Allison's counterpart there at New Leaf, one of the chief scientists there, was in the top 100 worldwide scientists for biotech. And so there's a lot of brain power and hundreds of millions of dollars of research going into the biological space. And these microbials and biotechs are critical as we go forward. There's not a lot of new traits coming out and not a lot of new chemistries, more repackaging of chemistries. And so when we look at this space going forward, learning how to use the biologicals is important. I'm Michael Musselman. For those who don't know me, I think everyone does, but maybe if you don't, I'm one of the owners of the company. We've got Brian Tolley on, principal owner and inventor of our two products from Lomu Tech. Dan Johnson's on. He's our rep from up in Minnesota, covering kind of some western states for us. Shandy Bertolino and Josh O'Brien from the YMS side, and a little later we'll have Tony Hagan on. I see Jesse Horn's going to make it in here. Jesse's appreciate that, Jesse. And Jesse's from Kentucky, and he's doing the good servant work of going and helping clean up a bunch of tornado work in his area that happened a few nights ago. So, Jesse, thanks for making it on. This is probably our fourth or fifth one of these. We record these. Talia's doing a nice job of getting them put up on the, she's going to get them up on YouTube for you all to go back to and be able to listen then. So Brock, thanks for making it on from Northwest Iowa. Appreciate that. Brock's a pioneer dealer up that way. Treats a lot of seed and has used dust for several years now. The one thing I wanted to show real quick, kind of the order of operations today is we'll let the company rep speak. Ron from Dakota Bio will go first and introduce some leader products there. And then we'll have the Terrasym plus dust side of things from the New Leaf Terrasym. We'll have Matt and Allison on. And then we'll finish up with Tony, Josh, and Shandy on the YMS side of lineup. What you're going to see here is dry and liquid biologicals, a nice run of things that I think what we'll find going forward is we're going to have to learn how to use these products and work them together, similar to what we've had to learn how to do with hybrids and traits and fertility. So there's some complexity here that we'll try to help simplify in a sense. And this infographic that I put up here, we're developing this concept in order to be able to educate you all. And the other thing we're going to work on is a product matrix that kind of lays out the do's and the don'ts and where to do and how much to put on, because while we do have our catalog, some of that can be simplified to make easier recommendations. So the principles of product development with the people that we work with are important to us from a scientific standpoint. So there's a lot of science behind it. And when we look at the science behind that, then we want to look at the agronomic benefit. So how does it help and work with the plant? And then the second thing is operationally, right? How do you use it? How and when do you use it? Is it easy to use? Is it more difficult to use? Do you have hours to use them, days to use them? And so then how does it work? And then the last thing that that you really want to know is, okay, if it works and I can use it, then will I get an ROI? So we'll work through those comments as we go forward and kind of show that benefit. So Ron, I'm gonna let you share your screen and take over and introduce yourself.
All right. Let's see here.
Oh, and Michael, you may have some folks waiting in the lobby.
Okay. It's not saying that I do, but so far.
Weird.
Yeah, I think I think I'm ahead of you, maybe.
As
okay.
Michael, sorry about that.
No
as
worries.
Michael said, my name is Ron Delfs. I'm with Dakota Bio as an account manager. I grew up in Gladbrook, Iowa. My family farms there, and have spent my career working in retail ag for several years. Really got into precision ag when that was hot. Got into the seed business as an agronomist for years with traits, and now I'm in biologicals for the last 4 years. I kind of like to go where the excitement is. So right now, to me, is biologicals is where it's at. So that's really happy to be in this space. Dakota Bio is a privately owned company, and it's got employees with a long history in inoculants and biologicals. Can you see that okay? Perfect. So yeah, long history in inoculates and biologicals. The Dakota Bio is kind of a new name, but the founders behind it, are really involved in farming, have been in the biological business for decades. Good friends of Lomutech, so a lot of expertise and a lot of bringing in more of the practical things of not just does this. The scientific part of it, but yet the operational too is how does this benefit the farmer? Want to take a closer look at our production. You can see we've got 2 plants now with a third on the way. And kind of one of the real big things is just the high purity quality sterile rooms that we have access to. You see here, we've got human pharmaceutical grade water purification, human pharmaceutical grade fermentation equipment, and then you look FDA food grade approved fermentation there on the right. So just a very clean, sophisticated setup to come up with the freshest and the most viable products possible, because that's the key when you're looking at live organisms is to have the most viable, healthy product that you can. Michael is just going over this. He's kind of collaborating on this. I like his a lot better. He's put a lot more work into it, but yeah, this was one of our founding concepts was, we talk about an agronomic benefit. What does it do for the plant, for the soil? And then you look at the economic benefit. What is the ROI on it? Which, you need to have that at least 3 to 5 ROI for products to be viable. And then that third piece that I think a lot of people miss is that operational benefit. You can have a product that yields through the roof, but if it's hard to do or it turns your tank mix into cottage cheese, it's not a good product. So you need a combination of all 3 of those to have a successful product to launch and have out in the market. What I want to focus on the product is we call all our products BOSS and B4. And what B4 is it's a bacillus. It's got 4 species and 6 strains of bacillus. And what bacillus these strains that we have got, what they do is they're very effective of solubilizing phosphorus that's tied up in the soil, along with the chelation of zinc and the iron that's tied up in the soil. All soils tie up phosphorus. I mean, when you put out your DAP or MAP, it's a significant, well, it depends on the pH. A percentage of that is going to be tied up in the soil. If you've got low pHs, if you get below neutral, or if you're in an area with high pHs, you're going to have an incredible amount of phosphorus tied up. So what this bacillus is very effective at is being able to solubilize that nitrogen along with the zinc and the iron. Real super easy to use. I mean, it's a very hardy strain. It's 1 pint per acre for the liquid in furrow, and then 1 ounce per 100 pounds of seed on a seed treatment. So it's in a spore form. So, very viable. We've been doing studies stretching out over a year, tank mixed with starter fertilizer, seeing no drop off in the viability of the product. So very easy to use. Like I say, 1 pint, you can go straight in the starter. And then seeing a lot with the soybeans. People can overtreat corn too, but soybeans being treated, I'll show a little bit more of the results on it. And actually, I've got one customer, they don't want me to tell who it is, but a seed company in Kansas they are treating their corn with Boss B4 in the bag. They've seen such tremendous results that they just jumped in and they're doing everything. And they want to get a jump on everybody, so they won't let me say who it is, but just wanted to throw that in. This graphic is how we try to describe what's going on with this B4 and the bacillus. So as you can see here on a corn plant, you're looking at the root growth. And we've got a line below the soil there, kind of showing like maybe about a 6-inch depth where you're getting fertilizer worked in, or if you're correcting your pH with lime, you're getting your lime worked in to make, roughly that 6-inch level. But what's happening below that level? And you see when the roots here, starting at V3, V6, start going way below that level. So if this down here, your soil, the pH is not corrected, you're getting this phosphorus if there's some, what's there is not going to be available. But let me go back, with the bacillus, it forms this microbiome on the root of the plant. So it's with it all season long. That's why we're putting it on in the furrow or on the seed, because it's just living right there on the root. And as the root goes down through the soil, it's very prolific at extracting that phosphorus, zinc, and iron out of the soil. Just a few pictures here. Steve Visted up in Minnesota, one of the founders, looking out in the field with the B4. You can see a 9.3 bushel per acre difference in this cornfield. And I went out and looked at one of our test plots in Indiana this year, and you can just see the plant health difference. I mean, sometimes I've looked at a lot of cornfields and bean fields in my life, and this was middle of August. It can be hard to tell visual differences, but you could see right to the road just the plant health difference with that extra nutrition it was getting. Another picture here, kind of looking at on the left, we've got just starter, and then a starter with a fulvic in the middle, and then a starter, fulvic, and Boss B4. And you can see, at least hopefully you can see, kind of the progression of the root mass and just the size and health of the plant as we move along. So if you've got a starter program, you're using like a fulvic or a humic, adding B4 is a great fit with that. You don't have to pull one out. My understanding of it is the fulvic is helping get more of that nutrient into the product, and the Boss B4 is making more of that available, especially later in the season as you know, you've used up the supply in the furrow that you put out there as a pop-up, and you're getting later into the season where the plant health is an issue, you're able to solubilize it with that B4. Here's kind of one of, at least I thought it was a wow picture. This happened up in South Dakota. They had 70-mile-per-hour winds, kind of, we've been talking about winds today. And then you can see in this picture all kinds of green snap going on. And then back in the back, you see corn, looks like it's standing very well. This just happened to be to a line where they split the B4 versus the no treatment. And you can just see the difference here in this visual and through the yield, 46 bushels per acre difference. And like I've said before, is, you know, this is probably an extreme case, but we did catch a picture of it, so I wanted to show what can happen. It's, you know, it's not a miracle. There's no miracle going on. It's just a matter of the plant health of the plant, getting more phosphorus into the plant. You're getting better stalk strength, better plant health, which in the end, in this case, ended up to be a 46 bushel per acre difference, and a lot less cussing as the farmer harvested that field. I think that's probably the selling point. You know, what's more important, yield or yeah, yield's more important, but having standing corn seems like it's pretty important. Okay, I'm going to switch and just talk a little bit about a product we just launched here a couple weeks ago. We call Boss Phenom, and this is a nitrogen product. And what it has is it's got two endophyte bacteria that go in the plant. One of them is similar to the Boss B4, not quite as effective, but it will live on the root below ground and solubilize phosphorus below ground. The other one lives in the leaf of the plant, and that endophyte will fix atmospheric nitrogen. So that's been kind of the big buzz with, you know, with the prices of everything. Nitrogen really sticks out. I want to say phosphorus isn't cheap either. So I'm super high on Boss B4, especially in conditions where, you know, you've got variable pHs, but the Phenom gives us that option with a very good nitrogen fixation above ground in the leaves and phosphorus below ground. Easy to apply. You know, it's not as quite as bulletproof as the B4, but it can go straight into a starter fertilizer at a pint per acre. You know, no slurring, no having any kind of mixing issues with that, no compatibility issues. You're not going to want to leave it in the tank for a year like you can before. You're going to want to plant it in you know, a week or so. It can go on all crops. Obviously, it seems like corn's the best fit for something like this, but can go on all crops. Seed treatment, it would be 2 ounces per 100 pounds of seed. So if you're treating box to box, or you've got a way to seed apply it, that works great also. Here's the picture that goes the story. I like the story. So this is the story that goes with that product. So this applicator, the regulator was off. They don't know how much nitrogen. It was a uniform amount. It wasn't like a knife was plugged or anything like that, but they didn't get enough nitrogen on the field. It was a little, I think they figured a little over 100 pounds, or between 100 and 120 on the field, but problems with the regulator on the toolbar in the fall, they didn't get enough nitrogen on, and then they stripped Phenom in the field. And so I'm not sure the planting length here, but you can see here, these dark spots is where the Phenom was fixing nitrogen in the field to make up for that deficit that wasn't applied because of that applicator malfunction and not getting enough on the field. So we didn't do any trials, and probably won't do any trials of cutting nitrogen. I know that's what everybody, the first question is asked is, how much nitrogen can I cut? And that's just, if anybody figures out nitrogen, they'll be a rich person. There's just too many factors going on. I mean, how much rainfall you get, how much organic matters in your soil, how much mineralization you get. So and we don't advocate cutting back your nitrogen rates, but I look at more of kind of a top end yield. You look at here, we didn't have the optimum nitrogen rate that added 17 and a half bushels on this field this year. So like I say, I look at it more of covering up some kind of these mistakes or those parts in the field with lighter soils that you're not getting the mineralization, you get extra nitrogen there. So that's, I guess I'll leave it at that as far as on the Phenom, but exciting product. We've got several years of data on it. We just launched it, but we've got several years of very good data on it. Very confident on it. Want to talk a little bit about our soybean inoculant, which is our Brady Rhizobium. It is, it's very concentrated. You can see the concentration there of, 10 to the 10. If you start looking at these biologicals and you start seeing like 10 to the 5 or something like that, that as you all know, that 10 number there is the big one. So it's astronomically lower if you really look at things and see what there. So we've got a very concentrated, effective Brady Rhizobium, very low rate, 1/2 ounce per unit of seed, nice packaging. And then we've got, that's good for 30 days on your soybean seed. If you need more, we've got a Stride, which is an extender, which you say if you're treating a bunch of soybeans a couple months ahead, you can, not very expensive, but you can throw extender in there. We don't like to throw everything together, in an extender, another kind of seed treatment. We just like selling the Brady Rhizobium. Then if you've got another seed treatment, biological you're using, or if you want to use B4 with it or what have you. Just a quick look here. This was a cooperator we work with, 2 years of data. Just all I wanted to show was the Boss Soy 30. Even though everything's a Brady Rhizobium, the Boss Soy 30 outperformed. Here on the others, we took some of the other products and added B4 and got them up there. But just like I say, just a very clean process, a lot of viable bacteria. So even though all Brady Rhizobium are the same, they're not the same. So quick look at Boss Azo. This is a product more for specialty markets. So more of a vegetable. I know we sell some like on broccoli in California. What it's doing is it's a nitrogen fixation for non-legumes. And you see here, it's got these PGR, effective amino acid, the indolic, acetic, cytokine, and gibberellin. So really great product for specialty. And I would position small grains, definitely vegetables. When you start looking at corn, soybeans, things like that, B4 and Phenom are probably going to outperform it, but in the right spot, vegetables, like I say, small grains, great product. One thing I really like is we've got this barge available for like on the inoculants. You can put up to 43,000 units in it, so we can just fill those up with the bladders. So instead of having to tear open if anyone's a high volume seed treater, instead of having to tear open all those boxes to get to the bladder and get rid of them, we can do a barge. You can stack these, takes up less space, discount on them. So just want to take a quick look at our testing locations, through the Midwest, and then just a summary here of our results from this year. Actually, this is 4 years. So we've got 4 years of replicated trials from 19 states, 44 testing locations, and over 1,300 plots that we're up to. That's independent, replicated. So when we look at the total, Boss B4 on corn is 11.7 bushels per acre with roughly today's prices, over a $53 return to the grower and a win rate of 85%. So as Ron Burgundy would say, 85% of the time it works all the time. So that's just a huge, I'm used to, in the past, we'd look at, if it worked 60-70% of the time, we looked at the win, but 85 is just great. Phenom, we're looking here with all, all these years of data, these replications, 9.7 bushels, $36 return, even a little bit better win rate, 88% of the time there's wins. Boss B4, soybeans, 4.7 bushels on soybeans. And I want to point out too, this year, this was on high, several of the results were high yielding. I mean, there was 70, 80 bushel soybeans, and we were still seeing these returns. So it's not a product that it's only going to get that good return when there's serious stress or poor soils or anything like that. It's even in the high yields, we've been seeing the good returns on the B4. And then the Boss Soy 30, 66% with 3.35 bushels per acre. So my positioning is if you've got fields with pHs up and down, you're getting your phosphorus tied up, definitely the B4. Soybeans, as you look here, the soybeans with the B4, $54 return, 85% win rate. So that's, if you're treating soybeans liquid, low rate, the B4 would be my recommendation, in furrow, or if you can get it on corn, same thing. Boss Phenom, we're going to be limited. If you want some of that, you'll have to let Mike know right away. That's, with all the buzz with nitrogen, that's going very fast, and we'll have a lot more next year, and we'll have some good information on it too. That's it, Michael. I'm gonna
Ron, appreciate that, and well done. And we can take a question or two. We did have one on the chat. If you look up there, you've got the comic book chat button at the top. You can type in something if you'd like to, and appreciate that. Well done. On the Phenom product, there's probably less than 100,000 acres of that out there to use. We'll be getting an allocation of that, so that's not a full release product as far as wide open supply. The other products, we can make a lot of them, and so appreciate that. And one of the things I wanted to transition here real briefly, we'll bring Matt and Allison on in a second. I want to bring up a couple of slides that talk about dust. Today's our last day for those dealers of you that want to get an early order in to get that extra 3% cash discount on dust. But we've got some information, and this will kind of transition us to the Terrasim side of things also. So Matt and Allison, about a minute or so, will get you up on the screen. The Beck's Research Farm, many of you know about this. Doug and Brady live right up here next to the PFR farm, real close, within a few miles in Minnesota. And Nate Furley's a friend of us and theirs, and he's the regional agronomy manager up there. He was able to get us in and help us get into these.
Michael, this is Brian. I'm not seeing anything on the screen. I don't know if anybody else is or not, but I didn't see anything change.
All right. Thank you. There we go.
Thank you, Michael.
Should be on there now. Thank you. Up here in the Minnesota location, we got started there and moved to some of the other locations. I just wanted to throw this in here. While we don't market dust as something that adds yield, we are finding people saying that it is adding yield for an ROI. If you want this data, I can send you this PowerPoint, and it's a summary out of the Beck's trials. And what we like to see is that an ounce of dust on the seed is providing a $32 ROI. Compare that to a Grow Pack, a Molly Dry, and even the Rhodesian Seed Plus Graphite. We're in the hunt with a 10 to 25 to 30 cent per acre product, and these other products can be a little more expensive. Now, one to show this on corn, we're seeing up to $16 return potentially. Here's multi-locations on soybeans, $1 an acre ROI, and then on this multi-location corn, $7 an acre on an ROI. And what I like to say about that is that we can kind of, in a sense, build the case that if you're not using dust, you're losing money in a sense. And the other thing that we like is with this movement to dry, the need for dry applications from an operational functional standpoint, dust makes a great carrier for these biologicals, and that'll kind of serve up the next group here. Our first release into the question that we've been getting from different dealers is what's next? What's next with dust? What are you guys doing there? And so we're going to have the group from TerraSym come on, and Matt Helms, CEO at TerraSym, New Leaf Symbiotics, and Dr. Allison Jack. I'll kind of serve you up there. Matt, if you want to take the reins, I'll get your slides going.
Perfect. Thanks, Michael and team. And just for today here, we're doing a little John Candy, planes, trains, and automobiles. Allison's at the airport, so I pulled off to the side driving down Interstate 55 here. I'll start us off and then let Allison add in some commentary as her check-in process works out here. So as Michael said, just a little background on myself. Been in agriculture for about 25 years, 18 years at Monsanto Company, before coming to New Leaf about 2.5 years ago. When I was actually at Monsanto, I was part of the diligence group that looked at investing in New Leaf. Monsanto did invest. Now Bayer is one of our shareholders. And what we want to do here today is just give a nice overview on our company, our technology, why we focus on one class of microbes called PPFMs, and then a lot of great work that we've done with Michael, Brian, Talia, and the Lomutech team to really bring forward this new innovative blend of TerraSym plus dust here in 2022. So, first of all, what do we do and what do we focus on? New Leaf is a little bit different than some in the biological space because we're literally about an inch wide and a mile deep. We focus on one class of microbes called PPFMs, pink pigmented facultative methylatrose. If you actually would Google and look at Wikipedia, you can find a little bit of the history of New Leaf. There was a professor, University of Maryland, Dr. Mark Holland, had spent quite a bit of time researching and seeing unique benefits with this class of microbe that you see on a leaf print surface. Those are the microbe colonies that have grown in a select medium from a soybean leaf on the left. But basically, New Leaf was founded when our co-owners, our co-founders, I should say, purchased the assets from the University of Maryland about 10 years ago. And a lot of work was developing this unique class. PPFMs are ubiquitous. They're found essentially everywhere on leaf surfaces, intracellularly, in the rhizosphere. And our collection of about 12,000 strains is all focused on PPFMs. Why do we do that? Well, we see some unique characteristics with this class of microbe. First of all, they are gram negatives. They're not the traditional spore formers that have been in the marketplace for decades. We've kind of worked in reverse order to look for unique microbes that have unique benefits out here in crops. And we've spent quite a bit of time in the last 4 to 5 years figuring out how to ferment these gram negatives because it's a little bit more challenging than some of the other types. PPFMs colonize really well. So when we apply our strain in a planter box or a seed treatment application, we can go and find that strain on the leaf surface as it's colonized as that soybean plant in this example has grown. What do we see? What happens with this product of TerraSym and dust? We can apply it as a planter box application. We're actually getting substantially more live microbes on the seed via a planter box than the traditional seed treatment application. Different rationale for that, and we're happy to go into more detail as needed, but that was not a surprise to us. We see enhanced root growth, elongation, and biomass. So when you go out there, between a V2 and a V5 stage, digging up roots, what you will see 80% of the time is enhanced root development and growth. And we'll show a slide here in a second on how Dr. Allison Jack has utilized resources. We reside at the Danforth Plant Science Center in St. Louis. It's the world's largest not-for-profit plant science center. Our company is about 32 people and about 12 PhDs, including Dr. Jack. Allison actually ran 2,367 photos of corn and soybean roots through that lab at the Danforth Center the last 2 years. Third parties that pulled in these samples from the field. And what you can see is we're able to measure really cool metrics. So we've got great pictures, but we also got great quantification here of root area, rooting depth. That enhanced root mass is allowing and providing more nutrient uptake. Iron and manganese are two that are very statistically significant. And then nitrogen follows in a nice third place from a corn perspective. But this dirt imaging has really gone a long way as you are thinking about how do you communicate in this space to your farmer customers. So it's really about PPFMs colonize well. They grow off of methanol, which is a waste byproduct of cell growth and division. So they're not draining your crop of photosynthetic sugars and resources that it can be utilizing to help combat abiotic stress, to put toward the yield potential, et cetera. Those are the unique benefits and why we focus just on PPFMs. And that's led to the yield increase claims that we talk about. And you can see in this slide here, similar to the previous group, we've tested in small replicated trials 2016 through 2019. And the last 2 years really focused on large scale third-party trials. And it's actually been really interesting. The soybean number really came on top of what we saw in the small plots, with 2020 and 2021 field results coming in around 2 bushel, 75% win rate. Again, this is all third-party work that we work with companies like Intent, Advanced Agrolytics, to quantify the benefits that we're seeing. So this is what we're basing our soybean value proposition off of. We'll talk in a second here on the packaging, the convenience, which is a really big piece of when we partnered with Lomutech. How can we make something that fits the way farmers want to farm, that's scalable, that's asset light for you and your distribution and dealer network to take to the farm gate, no matter what type or number of seed brands that a farmer's purchasing. I think, Michael, I'm not sure what our next slide is. Yeah, corn. Let's talk corn right there on the yield chart, if we could. Corn is very similar, 75 to 80% win rates, 4.5 bushel. We're basing that again off of the large scale field trials. We kind of work our way through the system, hundreds of small replicated trials. Actually, that yield data was a little bit over 5 bushel, but we're utilizing the large scale field trials as the anchor of our communication, marketing, and ROI returns. So 4.5 bushel, iron, manganese, nitrogen actually would be the third place of nutrient uptake, not quite to the 90% statistically significant level that iron and manganese are, but that is very consistent as well. Next slide. So let's talk a little bit about packaging, how we've worked together with the Lomutech team. I'm really excited about this. And obviously you will be providing us feedback and your customers providing feedback, but we felt like there was a really neat way for us to innovate from a packaging, delivery, and convenience perspective. So that's basically what we've done. We've pre-blended the specific Terrasym strain. There's different strains for soybeans versus corn, okay? So each of these products technically has a different PPFM. Some of our strains work better in monocot, some work better with dicots, and there's all kinds of differences across that collection that we have. So for example, on the left side, Terrasym 401 Plus soybean is pre-blended dust plus our Terrasym 401 product. It comes in that bag that you see right there, and it's that bag will cover 40 units of soybeans, okay? We're calling an acre for convenience of communication, 140,000 population. And then there'll be 4 of those bags or sleeves that would come in a case. So a case would treat 160 units or 160 acres at 140K population. Really convenient. Farmer feedback has been center fill, hopper fills. 40 is the common unit of measure. For most seed brands, especially for guys that are doing the center fill hopper, we still have the scoops if you've got individual row units. On the corn side, it's a 50 unit increment, okay? The use rate on both products of the blended product is a half an ounce per unit of seed. So the 50 corn unit treats about 117 acres in that bag. 4 of those bags in a case are 470 acres if you're assuming about a 34,000 population. We've tried to simplify things quite a bit from a communication perspective. At those planting populations, the FarmGate recommended price is $4.35 per acre on both the Terrasym 450 for corn as well as the Terrasym 450 for soy. As Michael and team work through what the margin tower and the opportunity is for your businesses, it's also the same on a per acre basis. So simplification, convenience for the farmer, new innovative product, a new type and a unique class of microbe is really what we're trying to do out here in the marketplace.
Matt, I've got one thing to interject. This came up in our discussions. Most of you now know that we have a 1 pounder bag of dust that is 16 ounces. Just know that for proper dosing, 40 and 50, there is a different amount of product in these bags. It's 1.25 pounds and 1.56 pounds based on that half ounce rate for 40 or 50 units. So just want you to know that. And we have that noted in our new price sheets that I'll be sending out as updates. So Matt, I'll throw up the satisfaction guarantee. And then if Allison's able to come in at the end, wanted to have her introduce herself and tell about why she likes what she's doing here and so forth.
Sure. Nope. That's perfect. So what we're offering here is a satisfaction promise. It's actually kind of interesting. Our goal is to price our product real quick. You'll see some advertising, print and social media in December, January. If the economics here, if a farmer buys 1,000 acres of Terrasym plus dust, 1,000 acres will provide a net return of just under $20,000 to the farmer. But if the farmer still wants a little bit of a backstop, or you as a dealer distributor want a backstop because, hey, this is the first I've heard of New Leaf, Terrasym, dust, etc. We do have an initiative here that if a farmer wants to split fields, split planters, provide electronic yield records back, if he for some reason would not receive $4.35 of yield benefit. I mean, we're down to about 1/3 of a bushel on soy and about 3/4 of a bushel on corn. We actually have an offer that will support that. So that's what Michael has, all those details in PDFs. We've shared some of our advertising with him. So whatever tools you have, on top of any questions that you have with Michael and team, just let us know. We're really excited about this. I mean, I just got a call here 2 days ago from a dealer with, he kind of went out to the countryside first day talking about Terrasym and dust and had a nice day. So he was just inquiring Michael about how much we had, right? But it was a good call to get here 2 days ago. So I'll pause right there and let Allison, if you could maybe do a quick intro, and I'm sure I probably left maybe a key piece or two off in the last 10 minutes.
Sure, and again, sorry, I'm masked on in the airport, but can everyone hear me okay?
Sure can, Allison.
Awesome. My name is Allison Jack, and I have been at New Leaf 4 years, coming up on 4 years in the next couple of weeks. First 2 years in the R&D team, running our greenhouse trials for biocontrol, and then transitioned to the commercial team 2 years ago, and have just had a blast, evaluating these products on large scale and developing kind of new pipeline products as well in our biostimulant portfolio. And Matt, I got to say, you covered all the bases. I was like, oh, maybe he's going to forget. No, he didn't. So, all of this. Yeah, Matt covered the benefits really well. And I'm available for questions. So, Michael has my contact information. And if you come across questions in the field from potential customers, if you have, clarification questions on like, okay, well, what about this? And, what about that? Please reach out. Like, that's my role is if I can't answer it, I'll route it internally to our technical team. And, I kind of keep a log of all the frequently asked questions to help us understand like how we're doing on technical communication. So yeah, just absolutely do not be shy to reach out if you have any questions about TerraSym.
Thank you for that, Allison. Matt, thank you for that. We're going to do this on a weekly basis. Just want to remind everyone that if you want to come back next week, we'll keep doing this to get everyone trained. And then the other key thing is we want you to know that this format works well. Now, all of us, Matt and Allison and Tony and everyone, can't get to a meeting at the same place at your shop or for your customers. But what we want you to know is that we are willing and able to either bring TerraSym in alone or so on, or get all these folks back on to a webinar for you, Cody, or for you, Shears or Brock or whoever in your location. We will do this kind of a meeting. We did this for Lauren last week up in Wisconsin. He had a dealer and a group of farmers in, and we got on the call and did about a 45-minute presentation so that you as the selling dealer or recommender out there don't have to be the expert on everything. And then, of course, as we can, some of us will try to get one-on-one with you on location, but a great format here for this. Next up is YMS. We've got Tony Hagan of AgriVive. He's our micro prospector. Is the new term I want to name Tony. Amazing what he does. He'll explain what he does about finding microbes. We've got Josh O'Brien, National Sales Manager for YMS, and then also Shandy and Keith Evans as reps. So what we're doing also out in the field is people like Ron and Shandy and Keith and Matt and so on. We've got groups of people now representing the manufacturers of these products that we're working with, that we can also get on site to help with the sales support, to help Brian and me and Dan Johnson. So next up, Yieldmaster Solutions is one of our manufacturer suppliers. We'll let Josh introduce the company, and then Tony, I think you've hopped on here somewhere. We'll set you up also. So Josh, take her away.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate the time and appreciate all of you jumping on here. Yeah, as Michael said, we're just going to do a real brief introduction of YMS and then let you guys jump into the heart of the matter here, which is the products, and introduce Tony. But Yieldmaster Solutions was founded 3 years ago, basically under the guidance of the fact that there's a lot of these biological companies coming on board. Manufacturers are great, but sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of a layer in between the manufacturer and the seller to be able to vet some of these products out. And that's really what we do as a company. As I'm transitioning slides here, there we go. Is we find these innovative biological products. We don't make anything. We find them and then we put them in our proof of concept trials. And basically, we look at two things. Does it work? Number one. And does it enhance the grower's return on investment? Number two. If those two things happen and we think the product is a unique enough product for the industry, we line up a manufacturer representative agreement to represent them in the U.S. So AgriVive and Tony Hagan was one of the very first companies we partnered with on this concept, and it's still in the portfolio today. We're really excited with his product line as we move towards the future. But that is more or less YMS in a nutshell. Again, I'm Josh O'Brien, the National Sales Manager based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. But Tony, if you're on, I'm going to go ahead and let you jump on and introduce yourself and introduce AgriVive.
All right, hello, I'm Tony Hagan. I'm the founder and microbe prospector for AgriVive. I'm the one who goes out and tries to find new microbes and develop them into usable products for each crop. Some of our early successes were IonFX, SoyFX, and CrownFX. We are now up to 117 different SKUs for anything from home houseplants and succulents, all the way up to potatoes, watermelons, and corn. I'm the one that kind of starts with the farmer to find out what issues they're having in the field or what things they'd like to see, and go out and find naturally occurring microbes. most of which are either in an invasive weed or a unique environment out there. I loved to duck hunt when I was younger, and some of those really out of the way sloughs have yielded a lot of interesting microbes. The product that we're looking at the most use out of is IonFX and SoyFX. IonFX was a development of our all-encompassing. I thought we could find a single group of microbes that would do everything in every plant, and I was really wrong. It developed into this kind of starter consortia that we built everything off of. So we've got 34 original bugs. Their only job is to make the plant a happy place for other bugs to live. Phosphorus solubilizers, iron solubilizers, zinc solubilizers, but not from the roots. This actually recycles those ions inside the plant to let you take advantage of more of your heat units during the day. So instead of all of your zinc being in the wrong ionic state to make energy by 11 o'clock, 11:30 on a normal day, it's recycling them all day. So as long as you've got good conditions for growing, your plant will continue to make energy all day. We've thrown our Lycor photosynthetic meter on leaves, thrown it in a stress chamber and raised the temperature up. It will produce energy up to 95 degrees. The stoma will close. It'll have its traditional stress response. And then at 105 on corn, it'll reopen those stoma and go back into production. That was a very unique set of microbes that caused earlier maturation not because I had some great holy cow, epiphany moment. It was strictly because we were getting more GDUs, more heat units were being absorbed by the plant. Those 34 bugs turned into the base of everything. So in your corn plant, if you look at the far left, that increase in size, increase in diameter, longer, wider leaves, I'd love to say that was something super special in my product. I just made your plant able to make more sugars longer during the day. It's kind of a letdown on my part. I'm not quite as special as I thought I was. We just got really lucky in the beginning, and we let you take advantage of a longer day. Some of those older agronomists used to laugh at me and explain, you didn't find anything super special. You just let me get better use of my day. So we're looking at when your plant is small. If you put this on as a seed coat or early treatment, my main claim to fame on corn is I trick your plant into thinking it is happier than it really is. You are getting better use of the sunshine. You're making better use of plant mass. You are going to get the bigger potential out of your cob because your plant thinks it is in a better environment than it is. Once it gets up to reproductive, it's up to the farmer to make sure that that environment really is as good as it seems. They want to make sure you've got the right nutrition, because if I've given you the opportunity to fill a bigger cob, it's up to the producer to make sure that that nutrition and that environment will support filling that cob. All right. One of the spectacular successes we have had is on forage. This is almost every field, every time you are getting a bigger plant. I am getting you to cutting date at 65% moisture quicker. We are running 2.4 ton per acre better. That is giving you an increase in milk value, 2,878 pounds of milk per acre increase. That is a combination of increased tonnage, increased availability of starches, and better efficiency on your feed uptake. We are changing the fiber breakdown within the plant. I went out and found a microbe from a plant that solubilizes its entire tuber of starch into the plant during the day then reforms it at night into starch. So what we found is we found a bacteria that puts these little cleavage points in the fiber as it creates it. Now I thought that was what mattered. So we pulled the bug out that makes these little cleavage points. Well, the corn wasn't breaking those cleavage points. I had to go back in and find his friends that actually came through and ate those cleavage points. So we brought in a consortia. So one makes the cleavage points, makes the fiber easier to digest and break down. But I had to bring his friends in that would actually break those bonds. Once we did that, the ability to break it down inside of your silage pile became a lot easier. That breakdown and availability of fiber, that early starch softening, the ability to create more organic acids because your pit inoculum is fully colonized in the plant, that became key to being able to get your additional milk yield. The product with the seed durumin in it gains you about $460 an acre in milk. This is a product that is going to sell a lot of. You're going to hear a lot more about seed durumin coming in about 3 weeks.
Yeah, and I'll chime in here, Tony. As we look at the silage and the grain corn, obviously silage is a no-brainer in my opinion. It's a home run for what you get back out of it. We've seen it very, very consistently through our data. Again, we love Tony, but we trust but verify on all the companies we represent. And this is our multi-year, or excuse me, this is our 2021 data set on his product for grain corn. So silage, obviously home run. Grain corn, again, 70% response rate, which we were really excited about this year. Average increase when we got that positive response was just under 10 bushels. So, what is that saying? Well, it's a really high yielding top end product, particularly in the high stress situations. So, Tony, I think you would agree with us that the highest performing areas for this product are typically where we have higher stresses. Is that right?
So drylands, higher stresses, not quite as intensive a management program. Yes.
Exactly, and that's what we've seen through our data set as well. So just a really consistent product. I look at it as a very inexpensive insurance policy to make sure you're gonna, if you run into some of these adverse weather systems that come through over the past several years, you're going to be able to not only grow through it, but also allow that crop to maximize its yield potential. So Tony, talk about how they apply it, how they use it. Obviously seed coat is how we do a lot of ours, but not many people have the ability of doing that downstream. So how would they do it on an in-furrow or a foliar application?
So in-furrow is a pint per acre. This is one, so when you put it in furrow, you want it to make contact with the seed. So it either needs to be below the seed and a seed dropped on it, or a seed dropped and placed on top. The in-furrow will actually start to break down a lot of the organics around it. So that increased organic and residue breakdown is actually releasing a lot of nutrition in the system. We got a very spectacular increase in growth out of it as an in-furrow product. You want it on as quickly as possible. You want to have the plant fully colonized and happy and getting that homeostasis in the plant prior to cob initiation. So normally you're thinking an R5, you want this on at pop can high. You want it to be fully colonized and tricking that plant and making it feel comfortable as early as V3, because anything after that, you're starting to influence your cob. So you want this on as quickly as possible as a foliar. I know you guys are really busy. Your operators are not going to be able to come back. They're not going to stop planting to spray this stuff on. In-furrow and seed coat are optimal, but you can get it on up to pop can. If you're going to use this on a forage, you can put it on all the way up to tassel. But if you're trying to go for increased grain corn, get it on as early as possible. We want to influence that cob as quickly as we can.
Perfect. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it. Let's walk them through the Crown FX for small grains, which is the cousin product to the Ion FX.
Okay, so Ion FX had to break into two pieces, one for stalked grasses and one for tillard. We found a group of microbes in there that will influence tillering. You don't want to throw 3X tillers on a corn plant. So we broke it off into Crown FX. Crown FX, you want this on as seed coat, or in furrow, you have to have it on before jointing to get maximum benefit for yield. This is a product that works both for biomass and for grain yield. We have an increase in protein. You want to, if you're doing a high protein contract through your grower, you want to make sure that they do wet chemistry analysis. NIR curves are not built for our product. It will show a 1.7 to 2.0 increase in protein on NIR. When you do wet chem, you can have up to a 5% increase in protein. We're doing a big project. Schooler just made a big announcement about their Aberdeen facility. We're in our 3rd year of trialing on that. We took a 16% protein barley, made it a 21. This stuff does have a big increase in tillers, increase in flag leaf size. That protein is a huge one. There isn't a quality market quite yet, but we're working on it. 2023, General Mills is anticipating building out a high protein purchasing program. We have an increase in straw residues. We have an increase in root mass. We're going to go to canopy about a week to 2 weeks early on your small grain. With the inability to get fungicides this year, that's going to be a big deal. Getting that canopy closed up a week to 2 weeks early is going to prevent that rain from hitting the ground, bouncing those fungus spores up onto the leaves. If you can close that canopy up faster, you're going to decrease weed pressures as well as the fungal issues. That fungicidal property, it's not a fungicide. All it is doing is closing your canopy up faster and keeping those spores from bouncing back up onto the leaves.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that picture you're looking at right there, that's from North Dakota this past season. High stress area, low moisture, high heat. That was about a 4 bushel increase in yield there. So we're really excited about this product. I think it's a little bit of a sleeping giant. Once the small grain guys kind of catch on to this, I think it's going to be a very easy decision for them as they continue to move. But Tony, talk about the Alpha Jewel, which is the alfalfa version of your product line.
Okay, so Alpha Jewel was designed, we had a lot of issues with winter kill over in Wisconsin, and we wanted a seed coat product that your first year would get better stand establishment. It is only available through Alpharex Corteva as a seed coat. When we did our first year trials, they snapped up the exclusive globally on that on the first year. We're looking a 12 to 17% increase in biomass. Once again, when you get into those super high maintenance, they use a lot of fungicide, they use a lot of nutrition. If you have a high maintenance operator, Alpha Jewel is not necessarily for them. This is for the standard operator and the guys that kind of ignore their alfalfa. This is something that when you cut it, it's going to remove the aerobes each time. So you have to respray it after each cutting. First to second cutting, we're not really pushing it hard. You get an increase, but not a huge one. It's second to third, third to fourth, and being able to get potentially a fourth and fifth out of areas you don't get enough moisture in. That's the key to Alpha Jewel. It really helps on the later applications. No one is going to take time for their planting to get it on for first cutting. Don't expect them to take the time for the benefit they get. First to second, you're still out in the field, you're still doing work. That second to third and third to fourth, that's where you want to apply this stuff as a foliar. That second, third, fourth cutting, that's where you really get the benefit.
Tony, talk about the stand life implications on this.
So this is going to help you put more energy into those roots. That root on a continuous application throughout the life of the stand has the potential to get you an entire extra year. The guys at Alpharex, this year it is a replacement for Stamina. They're looking at getting the same benefit that they got when they switched to Harv Extra. that low lignin piece. 2023, this is going to be $40 a bag more. This is their new move into higher yields on a seed coat. We're getting the same response if you're putting this on as a foliar application throughout the seasons. They're looking at a potential of an extra year out of the stand. They're getting less winter kill, better standability over the winter, but you're getting a thicker stalk, which is going to give you the first 4 nodes are being tricked into being clonal plants. So you're getting better branching, you're getting bigger leaves, thicker leaves, more leaves per plant, and they're staying. So we have an ethylene reducer. It's an ACC deaminase. The plant that we stole that from, if it gets any ethylene production inside the plant, it dies. So this bacteria is 99% effective in that original plant. We're really close in an alfalfa, which means you're not going to be dropping leaves as you let it dry. One thing we do warn people, this is going to give you more sugars. It's going to give you a sweeter plant, faster plant, thicker and more sugar-rich leaves. This is going to preferentially draw insects out of your field. If you do a small trial, watch your insects. They're just like a cow. If they smell a better product, they're going to be attracted to it. That is one of the first ways you're going to know if this works in your field, is you're going to see bugs. They're going to go to the best part of your field. That's what's going to be treated with our product.
Perfect. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate that. And let's finish up on the on your product line with the SoyFX product, which is our #1 selling AgriVive product as of today, just because of what we're seeing in the field with it. But go ahead.
Okay, so SoyFX, this one is going to get you faster through reproductive state. We had an issue this year. We had a co-op go into a field the last day you could spray Liberty. The untreated side of the field where he went in was just at R1. Our half of the field was R4. So he caused pod abortion. We still had an 8 bushel increase in that side of the field at the end of the year. So his insurance company wasn't as unhappy as they thought it would be. That is by taking advantage of the heat units during the day. The biggest thing you're going to see is you're going to see the first 4 nodes of this plant form clonal plants. If you have a single stalk bean, you will turn it into a 10-degree semi-bush. If you have a bean at August 1st, you can have up to 38 pods per plant more. Because of those extra branches, the extra pods, this thing has huge impact potential on your yield. Walk the field with these guys. If you go out at R1 and you're showing the side of the field that's treated has 14 to 16 pods while the other one just has flowers, your farmers and your operators are going to be sold on this. This is an amazing product. Walk the field with these guys. Don't just sit at end of year and look at yield. Show them what it did at each step. They're going to want to work with their agronomist to maximize their yields based on what their plants are doing.
Yeah, Tony, I think that from our experience, that has been a very important point, that we see this physical reaction in that plant of those lower branching, basically being manipulated to believe that they're their own plants. You know, you go in a field and you pull 10 plants from a treated, 10 plants from a control. It's a very visual thing. You want to take your growers in there throughout the season to show them that. For the one particular reason is that if you don't get the moisture in July and August, all that is for nothing, right? So we want them to know, hey, this product is working. It's working 90-95% of the time. But if you don't get moisture to fill those additional pods in July and August, then you're not going to necessarily see the huge yield increases that you would have seen had you have gotten the moisture. So with our data set, we've had it now for 3 years. We are averaging 4.3 bushels per acre increase when we get the positive response on this. And basically, that's just a fancy way of saying, if it rains, we're getting about 4 bushel back out of it, as long as we get the moisture to fill the pods. Would you say that's pretty fair, Tony?
Yes.
So perfect. Just from a time standpoint, I want to open it up just for a couple of minutes while we have you on here for actually, you know what? Let's come back to questions at the end if that's okay with you, Tony.
Yep.
I think Michael wanted to jump to NTEX and then we'll finish up with NVIDIA real quick and then we'll open
Yeah.
up for questions.
And we got about 5-6 minutes here to the end here at 9:15. So to move along here. And what I wanted to let people know also is there's a lot more behind what we're talking about here to drill down in, especially when you go into the dairy side of things. So if you have any dairies in your area and want something to bring to them, this whole program with the S2R and the INFX and what we're doing in silage and haylage is going to be very important for hundreds of dollars an acre to those dairies, 2 to 5 pounds of milk, these kinds of numbers. So, Josh, if you'll finish up with NTEX briefly, and then we'll kind of hit the highlight on NVIDIA as we close out.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. So NTEX is the only product that we have in our portfolio that's not endophytic bacteria, meaning that doesn't live in the plant. It does its mode of action in the soil. It's at the end of the day, it's actually a pretty basic product. It falls into 2 categories. One is a soil inoculant. So the strains of Bacillus and Pseudomonas in here will basically go into your soil, solubilize the phosphorus, make it more plant available, and allow that plant to utilize it more efficiently. The second category it falls into would be a fertilizer catalyst. So any additional fertilizer, NPK, that you're putting down, this bacteria will really help convert it to plant available form quicker. So you get a more efficient fertilizer application out of it. The 2 places this product really shines, number 1 is sandy soil. Obviously, fertilizer or nutrient runoff is a bigger issue. Lower organic matter, obviously. So we basically help kind of pad those numbers to get more efficient fertilizer usage on sandy soil. The other home run is heavy manure ground, whether it's swine or dairy or beef manure. Obviously, you're going to have higher levels of phosphorus in those soils, which is a higher savings account for us to mine that phosphorus from and make it more plant available. So at the end of the day, it's actually a pretty basic product, but it's got a very consistent results out of it from doing those things. But as we switch gears back to the NVIDIA here real quick, we'll finish up with this. This is our nitrogen fixing product that's in our catalog today. You know, it's kind of a 3-horse race in the N fixing category right now. You have the Pivot Bio product, you have the NVIDIA product, and then Corteva just bought one out called Blue N. They all have their differences in how you use them and what to do with them. We think we have the most versatile product on the market today. It is a multi-crop N fixer. So corn obviously steals the headline, but we use it on beans, we use it on wheat, alfalfa, sugar beets, potato, canola, cotton. I mean, you name it. We've probably got a crop in on a trial. I'm just sending some to Florida here next week to do a cucumber trial down there, I believe. But basically, the other really nice thing about it compared to some other products is how you use it. So you can put it in as a liquid product. You can put it down in furrow with starter fertilizer. You just need to mix a little bit of water with it if you do it that way. But the more common practice these days for us is the post herbicide pass. So put it in with your post herbicide from V2 to V6 on corn or early vegetation on pretty much any other crop, and super simple product to use. We've had it for 3 years now, 81% positive response rate with it. When we get the positive response, we're averaging 8 bushel back out of it. But as we look at, you know, the other important thing, how does it work compared to the other products on the market? This is a really brief diagram of an in-furrow application, but once it's in the plant, it would be the same as a foliar. These pink dots are the GD bacteria. More or less what they're going to do is live between the plant cells, but more importantly, get inside the actual plant cell. That is important because that plant cell will give us a free bus ticket to go up and down that plant anywhere we want to go. And then it also allows us to create these little air pockets, or what we call vesicles, inside the plant cell. So when air moves through that plant, primarily in the leaf tissue, these little air pockets capture a small piece of nitrogen from the atmosphere, pull it into the crop. So what you get is a very small but consistent dose of nitrogen every day that's life to the plant. And what I really like about this compared to other products is that this is happening in the actual leaf tissue. So we're not relying on mineralization through the root zone to get it up into the plant. Where on dry years, that's more of an issue. This is actually fixing nitrogen where it's needed, when it's needed in the leaf tissue. So again, I mentioned to you, we've had it 3 years. This is 2021 data. We had 20 trials out there this year. We averaged 7.2 across the board. If you look at the positive trials, which was 90% of the time, we had an 8.2 increase in yield. That is off 100% nitrogen rates. That is not backing off nitrogen at all. 3-year data set, I talked about that already. Dr. Fred Belo has done some trials through omission plots there. When he added it into his standard plots at University of Illinois, they increased it by 11 bushels, which was great. On their high-tech plots, when they took the Envita out of their system, when they started with 12 different treatments or products, they actually lost 8 bushels. So that's telling us on a high input system, there's still room to improve there. So really good data coming from Dr. Fred Belo there at University of Illinois. The question we get every day is, what does it do for reduced nitrogen rates? YMS will never recommend reducing your nitrogen. That is a decision you have to make with your agronomist and the other consultants you work with. The only thing I will tell you is that it will add more bushels. It'll add bushels at every rate of nitrogen you use it at. If you reduce your nitrogen, obviously the ceiling for improvement's a lot higher for us, so we will have a more dramatic impact. This is out of Wisconsin here. You can see at the 80% rate, we're averaging about 22 bushel increase on yield. We even creep pretty close to what it would look like with 100% without the Envita. But again, we think that the most profitable way to use this product is at 100% nitrogen, knowing that that plant is still going to be short nitrogen at some point in its life cycle. We're going to help bridge that gap. Moving forward, soybeans. We did 4 trials this year. We averaged 3.8 bushels with it. Very, very strong emerging market for us. Alfalfa. We're not seeing huge increases in yield. Utah State got data back to us last week where they saw a 4% increase in yield, which was about 250 pounds per acre. That is more than enough to pay for the product by about a 2x rate. But the really cool thing we're seeing is the increase in quality. Relative feed values are jumping by 14.5% when we're adding in the Envita, which makes a lot of sense that nitrogen's a building block for crude protein, and protein's critical in the relative feed values there. So we're seeing some nice increases on the actual quality of the Envita in alfalfa. Sugar beets, Michigan Sugar Company did some trials we got the data back last week. We did a couple trials as well. We're averaging 2.1 tons on sugar beets, which is awesome. And the last crop I don't have in here is potatoes. We're averaging 2,900 weights per acre on the potato market with this product through the 4 or 5 trials that we did this year, including Michigan State University's trial data. So overall, a very good, versatile product to use on a multi-crop basis there. So I went through that really quickly, but I just wanted you guys to get a kind of a feel for it. And then if you have specific questions, we can follow up with it.
Josh, thanks for this. We really want to highlight Envita as a leader product. That nitrogen message is out in the marketplace. And the key with Envita is 25 years of research out of the UK and 3 years now, a growth from 20,000 to 300,000 to 1 million acres of use here in the US. YMS is the source, the manufacturer distributor in the US. And so they've kindly allowed us to come in and work with them on this product. So you're going to see a product here that will compete against Pivot Bio and the other products. Our price points of $12.95 an acre. And our message is not to cut nitrogen, but to add on bushels and be more efficient, and to use this nitrogen that the plant is producing, or excuse me, that the microbe is producing into the plant or fixing into the plant over the season long. The other key functional aspect of that is, when we look at that infographic from the beginning, is you can put it in furrow or you can spray it on 3.2 ounces per acre, but you can put it on with that early chemical application also and still get the colonization throughout the season. So it's a colonizer of the plant, not just the roots, comparatively speaking. And that's one of the things in these product lineups that we want to highlight to finish this out is, think of the majority of these products as plant colonizers. While there is activity with some of them in the soil because they're in the rhizosphere, we have these plant colonizers. So those of you who have nutrition programs that focus, real highly on what's happening in the soil, or there's other things that stimulate the microbials in the soil. These lineups are coming in and affecting the plant also. So with that, we appreciate everyone participating and taking this extra minutes to be with us. At this time, whoever would like to stay on the call, we'll take questions verbally or on the chat. If you want to unmute, this will just kind of be a little jam session here for as long as anyone wants to stay. But all you guests are welcome to head out at this time. You got other things to do. We understand that. And I am recording this, and we'll post this up on YouTube really quickly for those of you who want to get other salespeople in your organization or rewatch for education. So I'll open the forum up for questions.
Yeah, Mike, I did just see that we had about the potato data question. So I'll send Michael this potato data sheet. We just got it in yesterday. That was from marketing. But Idaho, Michigan, and Wisconsin's where the data is from, with multi-reps there in each trial. So I'll send that over to you, Michael, today.
Thank you. If you want to speak, you'll have to take yourself on mute to ask any type of question.
Hey, Mike, it's Lauren. Just wanted for Tony, for the FX products, what things do we have to avoid for seed treatments on seeds with his products when we're adding that?
Okay, right now, you're going to want to avoid propiconazole. That's the big one. Most of the other seed treatments are all compatible.
What is propiconazole in? What products is that in?
Slant, tilt, quilt. It's not usually on as a seed coat, but with the level of desperation some of these co-ops are going to have with getting products out, I wouldn't be surprised to see people trying to use it. It is a broad spectrum antimicrobial. There is absolutely no reason to use it as a seed coat. It's only good for 7 days. Effects are lost primarily at the 7-day mark. It has some residual effect at 21 days, but you're not going to have fungus issues in a cold soil, early application. But this year, I wouldn't be surprised to see some of these co-ops trying to push it because it's the only product available.
Thanks, Tony.
Yep.
Scott Crusher, you have any questions there, sir?
Yeah, I think I heard right that that Ion FX, can you put that in a 2x2 fertilizer? I thought that he said you had to go on the seed, or am I mistaken there?
On the seed.
It has to touch the seed. So
Okay.
by the time the seed grows over to a 2x2, you've lost the impact. You want it on there really early.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I had another question. I don't know what it is though.
Hey, Mike. Doug,
Yes, sir. Yes. Hi, Doug.
what kind of a fill rate or anything does early pre-plant herbicides with any of this? Do we have a mortality rate on the bios?
Yeah, Tony, you want to handle that on on the chemistry or mixing? Maybe Josh, if you want to hop in. Ron, we don't really have any concerns. You're not going on foliar, so we don't really have to worry about those on Dakota Bio. So, Josh or Tony, you want to comment on tank mixing with herbicides?
Tank mixing with herbicides, it's about water chemistry and the impact on the herbicide. If it starts to chelate in the tank, it's going to cause some issues, even for efficacy of the herbicide. Jar tests are the way to go. to try to make a broad statement about early herbicides, we'd prefer you didn't mix it with it, just because that is the fastest way to get ineffective product. But go ahead and do a jar test on it. Most of them are safe. Almost all the insecticides are safe. It's when you throw in those broad spectrum antimicrobials, something like a Roundup is actually, Roundup started its life as a sterilizer. It was used to sterilize equipment. It's a microbial killer. Most of the microbials out there are going to put some kind of an oil in there to encapsulate the bugs on a foliar. Ours are raw. It's water and bugs. So our stuff, if you've got a high concentration of herbicide in there that's starting to chelate out the metals in the tank, in the water, it's going to start to impact and kill some of the bugs. Easiest way to check that is just a jar test. Before you put the bugs in, do a quick jar test. Make sure they're going to survive in that particular mix. Temperature of the water, pH of the water, hardness of the water, all of that stuff is going to impact whether a biologic lives with a particular herbicide.
Yeah, and on the Envita, where Tony's product is so much more complex, where it has, you know, over 100 strains of bacteria, and the oil that he was talking about there, Envita is a lot more simple product. There's only one strain of bacteria in there, and it's pretty bulletproof. So mixing with the herbicide is not an issue. We haven't had any issues with it at all. So that is the one nice thing about having a single strain product, is it's a lot easier to test the impacts of herbicides and those types of things.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, I got to jump, but if you have any other questions that you can't answer, yeah, at this point, you're pretty well versed in it. Just shoot me a text message and I'll get you an answer for it. Appreciate the time.
Go ahead. Who's going?